Hello everyone, welcome back to Hinamizawa. When last we left our heroes, Oishi was reigniting his childlike wonder by playing in the mud with Keiichi. So with that out of the way, oh yes, by the way, we have Oishi back. Say hi, Oishi. That's Tepe.
Oh, sorry, you want the Oishi, not the Tepe.
Yeah.
Hey!
Might have happened
Thank
to
you.
Tepe or Oishi as well. We don't know.
We have no idea. Maybe they're the same person.
They both
Anyway.
become mudmen.
Cursing people this chapter.
Anyways, we got two tips here. We got inquiry request and the most astoundingly suspicious tip I've ever seen.
That tip is completely ordinary, and nothing would ever be suspect about it.
Alright. So, anyone want to take this one? If not, I'll take it. It's a bit unusual.
Okinomiya Police Station Command Center Transmission Recording. June 20th, 8:08 p.m.
The witching hour.
This is Okinomiya Police Station. We read you loud and clear. Over.
Hello. We'd like you to look up a license plate for us. Chishibone, H4344.
Shishibone, H3... Why did I say H3? H4344. Alright. Please give us just a moment to look it up. I always have such a hard time reading numbers for some reason.
Thank you.
You're taking a year of calculus.
Number
I think
match.
that's a medical condition.
Shishibone, H4344. Owner, redacted. Address, redacted. Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone.
Is this just all going to be fucking nothing?
Vehicle make and model, redacted.
It's not
Wonderful.
redacted, they just forgot to put anything there.
Theft reports, none. Special mentions, nothing of note.
Wow!
What a great tip! Okinomiya,
Rikishi really is just going all out with this one.
Okinomiya Security Police to Oishi. We found the license plate from earlier. Oishi, do you read? Oishi, please respond. Am I getting a bad signal? Anyone in Oishi's car, please Nothing, eh?
Oishi-san wanted a license plate check. Whose car was it?
Someone from the village. A completely average car with no defining characteristics.
Who was it? If Oishi-san was asking, and it can't be anyone good, right?
The special mentions column is completely blank. No indication it's related to the S group either. And no demerits on it.
Maybe it passed him on the road and he got mad. That guy isn't the type to forget a grudge.
I'm sure that's not important.
I can't believe all of this happened because Oreo cut off Oishi in traffic.
Alright, and now we have Record of Malice. Which is just
What if-
completely black.
What if Oishi, Oishi or Sama's curse is actually just people who have cut off Oishi at some point or another?
Oh my
That's
god.
like he's the
That's a
messenger.
great
It would make
idea. What if they
perfect
like
sense,
almost
because-
ran him over like they did Keiichi?
Yeah, but what if Tomitake didn't even cut him off? He was just a biker on the road. And Oishi is the kind
That's
of guy
even,
who...
to be honest, being a biker on the road instead of on the sidewalk is even worse.
It's where they're supposed to be.
Alright.
That's
where
what
they're
traffic
supposed to
clause
be.
says.
Record of Malice, guys.
Record of bicycling.
Oh, I think this is Sadako. Probably. Just based on that.
He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smelled because I don't take baths. Truly, Goblin, He said to take a bath 3 times a day because I was a smelly person.
See, Uncle Tepe
said-
just cares about Satoko's hygiene.
He said I had to stay in the bath for a long time every time. He must be possessed by something too. This is the same thing the man who died said. Why does he know what that man said before? That much is obvious. The same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And then I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in. I won't cry. I won't give in. I won't cry. Someone is apologizing again.
I see.
That's
was-
foreshadowing that a giant sinkhole is gonna open up outside their house.
No, it's gonna be a volcano, remember?
Well, no, the
Hypothetically.
sinkhole's going to open up, and then swamp gas is going to come out of it, and everyone's going to turn into zombies.
Well, the swamp gas comes from the volcano, so...
Yeah, like real volcanoes.
Why do they call it volcano gas?
Just
When
by
you
the
have
way, a
impact
magmatic
volcanoes-
eruption is not from a volcano, which was my swamp gas theory. That's a joke.
Sometimes the volcano had a bit too much Taco Bell.
Oh, I see. Okay, so... It is interesting here. The same thing as the man who died. Does she, like, know it's not the same guy? Anyway. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Sadako had said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much. No matter what strange natural disaster... Stop talking about this! You're jinxing it! Coincidence. Or miracle, it might have implied.
Big earthquake is gonna open a hole outside their house, don't you know?
Once again, just staring deep into the red name's eyes every time I say miracle. In order to free Sadako, I became a demon. And this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Sadako's uncle, then that would have been fine. Since Sadako's uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. We're gonna kill him twice? Yeah! One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over again until Sadako was liberated. I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see it was early in the morning, at just about 5. It was already light outside. Once I'd hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'd do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away, and I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I let my mind wander, and had a strange thought. These 2 days, while I've said it was for Sadako's sake, the only thing on my mind has been killing. I've said it was for Sadako, but while actually carrying out the act, I had completely forgotten about Sadako, albeit only temporarily. Maybe, initially, it was for Sadako's sake. But now, I was just a demon, killing for the sake of killing. And as a result, I'd sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe It was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Sadako, became a demon, then disappeared from the sunlit Hinamizawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that, after all was said and done, I met the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistakes, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me, so he would be here somewhere. Now that's an interesting proposition, Keiichi. Now you're cooking with gas. Anyway.
With swamp gas?
I mean, I don't think you can cook with swamp gas. I'm not sure that it would ignite. Anyway. Because remember, the powder keg of his heart doesn't light. It doesn't light. It doesn't light. Then, surprised, I stopped walking. There was the second set of footsteps I'd grown so used to hearing.
Or could you be Satoshi?
The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer. But I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Let's go, Satoshi.
This therefore confirms that it's not Satoshi.
So true, because he's like Sagame. He's always wrong about everything. Once more. This time, we will set Sadako free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they caught me now and I'd been out way too late for 2 days now, they'd give me a really angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today, I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes, and then take them with me, so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'd do it again. I'd kill him again. And this time, I'd set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter to me. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun, even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and that other Keiichi Maibara. Even without me, he'd fill in. I could vanish from Hinamizawa without anyone noticing. So basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Keiichi Maibara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Sadako's sake, then that was just part of my duty as her Nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough.
Oh, this one's scary. Let's go with this.
I do like the implication that Keiichi's really enjoying life right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, once again, he forgot about the golf club. Great. It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. It was almost as if it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I wrapped it a little in some old newspaper and tossed it into the basket on my bike.
Sorry for using you for evil all the time. I'll need you again today, my legs. What are you talking about?
I apologize to my bike for some reason. For the past 3 days, I've only used it for dangerous things. I'd been riding this bike ever since I lived in my old town. Okay, so that, just so everyone's clear, he had the bike in Chapter 1. Just so everyone's completely clear on this. He just never rode it. I could walk most places I wanted to go, so I hadn't used it all that much. My mom had bought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station since it was far away. So I'd always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I'd only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket, too. I'd never try to put a hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in there. Foreshadowing is a literary When I came to Hinamizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever, and had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. I'm just gonna screenshot this one.
So it was a crime in the past.
Yeah, it used to be a crime back then.
They've legalized it for now.
Back in my day, murder was crime.
Nowadays, everyone's just chasing each other with
profound
hatchets.
statement he has ever made.
Anyway.
The festival is actually just the purge.
That's a good idea. Anyway. I didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay. But still, the times I'd had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable, and the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime, as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I'd learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. I thought back to when I'd first come to Hinamizawa. About how on the very first day, Sadako had welcomed me via a blackboard eraser with a rock in it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me. She would laugh, get angry, cry. She was never boring. By the way, the tagline of this game on the Steam page is something like, "The kids laugh, cry, and get angry," or something like that. Anyway. She was obviously the most childlike one among us. But she was actually lively, full of vim and vigor, and good at meddling in other people's business.
All positive traits.
Meddling kids.
Good at meddling.
And I would have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for you meddling kids and your Oishi. Anyway. That went for Mion, Rena, and Rika-chan too. Wasn't Sadako...
They were all meddlers because they were female.
Well, yeah, obviously.
True.
Typical woman things. Anyway, that went for Mion, Rena. That went for Mion, Rena, and Rika-chan too. Wasn't Sadako the one at the center?
Sorry, who did it go for?
Shut up! Wasn't Sadako the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Well, she is a goblin child. Sadako would try to look cool. Then Mion would make fun of her endlessly. What great friends. Then Sadako would cry, which would put Rena in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. What great friends you have, Sadako.
Great friends. Great friends.
And I happened to get mixed up in it. We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Sadako. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. I'm just gonna glare at the red names once again for no particular reason. I'll discuss it later. Anyway.
There's no red names left in the server though. It's all black.
Okay, well you have red hidden behind the black, so... Anyway. It was just like when I was silently going to cram school every day, just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So, basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. That's a nice compliment, Soggy.
Unhateable.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people have described me as that before.
Anyway, in that case, I was her knight, searching for the dragon's castle in order to win her smile back. Because no one else cared about her if you really think about it.
Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about?
Knights.
Knights, of course. Use swords. The awesome, two-handed kind. I'm probably the only knight in the history of the world to be taking someone on with a thick, rusty hatchet.
Then I saw an old person in the ridge of the field waving to me. Oh my! Keiichi-kun!
Am I back, Tej?
Hello?
Tej, you glared at me so hard my internet died. What the fuck?
Nice.
Deserve.
Yes, I can hear you now. Look, I'll talk about why I'm glaring at you for that later. Actually, I should screenshot that line. Hold on. There we go. Oh my! Keiichi-kun! Out for a morning ride, I see! I heart medication, no!
Good
He's-
morning.
He just dies on the spot.
This is gonna turn into like a Don Quixote moment where he kills the old man thinking he's a windmill or something.
I reflexively...
He's a witness now.
I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Should I really have been feeling so happy waving like that? Sadako's house would be right past this road, going beyond the rice paddies. The cicadas had woken up too, and the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. I gave myself a hit or two in the head, and immediately died from blunt force trauma. But since dead people don't play by the rules in Hinamizawa, I immediately drove away, my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath, then tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or that I killed him and he'd risen from the dead. I bet Sage likes this line right here. Oh no, yes, that's a good line. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which was why he treated me like a lunatic. But it being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. If that had been an illusion, then that would make all of this Hinamizawa I was in right now an illusion. If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. Keiichi's really pulling an if I did it right now.
Here's how Bernie can still win.
No, I'm talking about OJ. Anyway. Actually, have you seen like the cover of the If I Did It book? It's really funny.
No.
So the estate, basically the estate of the victim's family ended up having the rights to the book, and now all copies of it printed have the word if printed so small you almost can't see it. So it just looks like it says I did it.
It's so peak. It's so
Pretty
peak.
good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He did kind of do it.
What do you mean? He was found not guilty. I don't understand
This
why
is
everyone
true. The
keeps
glove
saying
did
he
not
did it.
fit him.
Yeah, the glove didn't
We
fit,
all
so they had
know-
to acquit.
We all know that the legal system has never made any errors ever.
Just by the way, he did have to end up paying the victim's family in a civil trial later, so he pretty much did do it as far as the law goes. Anyway, I was actually in a vegetative state due to a traffic accident, and I was currently dreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in rice paddies like these.
H.E., you're in a coma.
Keiichi, you're in a coma! Wake up! Wake up! That was a terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only possible answer was that he'd resurrected. It would make him a literal monster. But if he was such a monster, then I was no less a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and I could even wield curses. Takano-san had died probably because I cursed her. Or maybe that was a little much. If Coach and Oishi died too, like I cursed them to yesterday, then I'd believe it. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which I set my bicycle
That wouldn't
aside.
happen.
I set my bicycle aside and went to take a look. His motorbike wasn't here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to hell that night, throwing it into the Onigafuchi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't here, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either? The fact was his bike wasn't here. Might have been because he'd gone to town and hadn't come back, not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. Well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for the bike to be where Tepe's not, because
This is true.
if her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on its own. Then I would just show myself in, then wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was there.
There's like a grindstone out front of his house.
Forgotten sensations came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me, just like the track from Umineko, Rose. The sensation was like poison, dulling my actions, but it could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken my superhuman, otherworldly self. So is it poison or a disease, then? Anyway, I held the hatchet, still wrapped in newspaper. Its weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I hadn't put on my watch, so I didn't know what time it was, but it was probably still a little before 7. Sadako would probably be awake, preparing breakfast and her lunch. But her uncle would probably still be lazing around in bed. A guy like him would have stayed up late drinking, and probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Sadako open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I'd waste my chance at him still being asleep. If Sadako saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Sadako responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside. Maybe that would do it. How would Sadako react to that? She would probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I would have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Sadako didn't need to know that a murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much just standing around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob. Then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life inside
That
the
means his
house
fingers
hit
are
me.
safe.
Thank God. At the entrance, there were a few pairs of shoes and sandals. You mean my fingers are safe. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not, just by looking at them. I could hear a television on somewhere. The television was in the messy dining room. We have not seen this before. Hold on. Wait, no, not Sprite style. Yeah, that looks about the same, honestly. Wait.
Just a little messy.
Reminds me of Steins Gate.
Ah.
Floppy tissue.
Anyway. No, fuck. I keep forgetting which button it is. Anyway. The television was in the messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family's mealtime. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it. Meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. But with the television on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming and been hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight, I thought it would choke me, just like swamp gas.
What?
Huh? What's up?
So, the tension was so tight.
No, that's what tension is. What do you mean?
That's
literally what tension is.
A little bit brow raising.
But
Oh, that
tension
sounds fine to me.
is tightness. That's what it is.
What?
It was also thick tension that would choke him.
Very homoerotic chapter.
Yeah.
Can you guys go Google the word tension for me real quick? Thanks.
No.
The
Alright,
newspaper wrap.
Googling testicular torsion.
Okay.
Banging tension.
The newspaper wrapping the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all.
The blade was thick.
I tightened my grip on it, then, very carefully, took a look around. Where had those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling on my brow got on my nerves. And then, I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Then, was it last night's dinner? I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, went down the hallway, and found the stairs to the second floor. When that...
Do you think he, tasted the rice to know that?
I
It gets
don't... No, you
It
can
gets
tell.
a look.
You can tell just by looking
It gets a
at
look when it
I
dries
just
out.
like to imagine that he just started eating the food just to be sure.
You can probably tell just by feeling it, to be honest.
When that man was playing with his friends, he looked out of a second-story window. It was highly possible that room was his own, and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edges of the stairs, quietly climbing, without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening the paper doors, checking inside. But I still couldn't find anyone. To search more efficiently, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps of boiling water. It was then that I started to harbor some feelings of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back into the dining room. I looked at the food scattered about. Completely dried up rice. An overturned bowl of miso soup. The package for a side dish bought at the supermarket. I could tell Sadako had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house, and the type and the amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. Well, you could also deduce it from the fact that there's an overturned bowl of miso soup that Sadako told you about. But anyway, the number stamped into the food package read 830620. So, year 83, June 20th. Wait, guys, we might actually have a date for Wado Nagashi.
It's
So
really
this is...
1983.
Wait, okay, hold on. So... So this is the day after Oishi's little visit. So that would mean that Wada Nagashi is June 18th, yes? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nagashi,
We
in just
actually
week,
have a
guys.
date. Crazy.
Is that true?
So that means that about a
Work?
week after, on like maybe the 27th, or like I'd say 25th to 27th, that'd be Sadako's birthday. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I'm just excited because we've never really got a date for this before. June 20, 1983. That was yesterday. Oh, shit. Okay, so no, it's the 19th, isn't it?
One night,
Yeah.
just a week away.
No,
What
no,
is it?
17th. My bad. 17th.
There was a moment of detective work there.
Okay. And there was food for two, which meant that this was last night's dinner, and Sadako's uncle would have been here then. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night. That much was the truth. He had found fault with Sadako's food, thrown the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within my feelings of calm and composure was lit a flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Bump. I heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. What was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass, at the far end of the changing room. It had to have been the sound of the water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrining the glass door, and the heat from it was leaking into the changing room where I was standing, too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. What?
I don't know about the
Is this some
bathing
Japanese
habits.
thing? Or...
Keiichi is just
Something tells
extremely
me it is
judgmental.
Japanese.
Keiichi's just extremely judgmental.
I needed a moment to think about that one, sorry. If one did, then it would mean that in this house, time had been stopped ever since some moment last night.
I feel like this is a stretch.
Whistle, whistle, whistle. Well, I think he means time would have stopped in the sense that they left in the middle of the bath, which doesn't make any sense.
Someone activated the world.
I think that's what he's trying to imply here. Anyway, whistle,
I see.
whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active this whole time. Yeah, see? Told you. I checked in a clothing basket, and saw Sadako's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it. Certainly not something she could wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through all the steam. And then, an electric surge ran through my mind, and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she? She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible. But no. Oops. In Hinamizawa right now, nothing was impossible. I gulped audibly, then quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot, steaming air burst out of the slight opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it went completely white with the steam. Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooler air also flowed into the room with the bath. Why do I feel like this is some kind of strange analogy for something else?
You might be insane.
You're just schizocore.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking that because I actually have a specific reason this time. I'm thinking that because there's been the whole thing of like people can't enter or exit Hinamizawa, right? So there's some problem with the border. I'm wondering if this might be alluding to something regarding that. Anyway.
Border? Is that a Toho reference?
I was gonna say
Yes.
some sort of great fantasy barrier,
Yes, like a great Hakure
Like a
barrier.
Hakuri barrier?
like a Jomine
Reimu
shrine.
Hakure. Anyway, and I just heard, due to being hit by that air, a very weak moan. That was all I needed, to know who it was.
Satoko! I can't shout still.
It's fine.
It's 4 a.m.
No answer. Sadako was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise, as if angered. I could see the gas flame through a small window. It was roaring at full force, completely blue. Sadako's entire body was boiled red and flaccid, as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll, as she laid there unconscious. You mean like a puppet whose strings had not yet been cut?
I think her strings have already been cut. I think that's the whole problem here.
I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came to my senses and promptly...
At the very least, it must be more than 1,500.
Anyway, I came to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler. Then, I dragged Sadako's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in the public baths. Was she in this boiling water for the entire night? She'll die. She'll die! Sadako's body was lighter than I expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back into the bathroom and opened up the vent, creating a path for a cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Sadako moaned again.
It'll be alright, Sadoko. It's me, Keiichi. Do you understand? Can you hear me?
Keiichi.
This actually, to be honest, this might be the most grotesque piece of violence so far. Because this is actually pretty realistic, unfortunately. Anyway, Sadako recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Think, what would the teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on and soaked a towel in it. I then took the cold towel and pressed it to Sadako's forehead. I'm not sure that's the best of ideas. Sadako reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. Thermal shock. For burns, right? You would smoke the burned spot under running water. Then, I could run cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? No. If it was that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart, and she'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. Yeah, thermal shock. This was about as much nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur.
What happened, Satoko? You're alright now. I will... Your Nini will save you for sure.
5,000. 39. 5. The cough. 40.
Huh? What was Sadako reciting under her breath? I brought my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious, spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment, I understood what they were for.
Satoko, you're counting? Why?
People tell little kids in the bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Sadako was counting like that. But 5,039?
You moron. How long were you supposed to count in your own bathtub?
And that.
I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000?
You're a freaking idiot. What kind of dumbass can count to 10,000? There's no way you could do that. Boiled to death before you got that far. Why were you...
Let's prove Keiichi wrong here. Okay, 1. Who wants 2?
3.
I have 37.
My uncle.
Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at the dinner she'd made, saying it stunk and was unedible. Sadako didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables he'd bought in particular. Or she'd bought in particular, my bad. Her uncle then decided the stink was originating from Sadako and shouted at her that she never, ever took baths. And then, he put Sadako in the boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted to...
I'll kill you! I can't.
I can do this one if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll kill you.
Yeah,
Whatever you did with the new microphone, the expression's not working anymore.
What the fuck? I literally turned all of it off.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not on anymore.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so it is working. Thank God.
Yeah.
I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper-wrapped hatchet, I stampeded through the house. I searched for anything. Traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats. With a war cry, I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found the futon in the room I thought to be her uncle's, and well aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I'll bust the entire closet down, door and all. And if he's not in there, maybe there's a secret door. Any switches or levers in the walls here?
Don't make me invoke Noxus.
XYZZY.
This is not the time to invoke Nox. I
think it is.
smashed into wall after wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Like, if you really want to invoke Nox next discussion time, you can, but I don't think it applies here. Dust rose into the air, and broken pieces scattered about the floor. I smashed all the glass windows too, for good measure. Why do I have a feeling that he's doing this to Sadako's room?
We can be sure it's not a closed room murder now.
It could be someone else's room as well. There
Yeah,
were
it's
other
Oyashiro
people living in
Sama.
that residence. No, there were other people living in that residence.
Yeah, it's Oyashiro-sama's room.
True.
Rena's room.
Whoa! Okay, you can do the panting now.
I did!
Oh, you did?
I already did.
I didn't hear you, sorry. After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Anyway, Her uncle wasn't in the house right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I had to do something about Sadako. I went back to the changing room. Sadako was still laying limp on the floor. There was nothing more an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach had treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in a mental hospital. I never wanted to see his damn face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have a doctor look at Sadako. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform lying in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it would be pretty difficult. Shit, I don't have time to be wasting here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in a bath towel. The clinic was close to Sadako's house. It would be way faster to carry her there than call 199 and get an ambulance. Is that the Japanese number, I assume?
Yes.
I would assume as much, yes.
I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand.
Can you stand? I'll carry you over to the clinic.
Thank you.
Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improved even a little bit. Sadako turned over so she was lying on her face, and then put up a weak struggle to get up on a knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off.
Ow. It hurts.
We'll be there soon. It won't be long, so stay strong.
It didn't hurt one bit to carry Sadako. She was light, too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside, it had gotten hotter, as though eager to attack Sadako. Fucking cicadas. Why did it have to choose this morning to get so hot out? I didn't have time to swear at them.
Fucking cicadas.
Like,
Fucking
what the...
cicadas.
Fucking cicadas.
Casey is peak.
That actually reminds me. I think I heard from someone that there was a line in this chapter. And on the Steam version, it was initially translated as a bitchin' Satoshi, if I remember right. I don't remember what line it was, but anyway, I think it should have been kept in, honestly. I don't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Sadako on my back, I broke into a trot.
Did you say you trotted like a horse?
Indeed.
Yeah.
The hilly
Horse
road.
react?
The hilly road to the clinic, with which I had never had difficulties before, was now torturous. Big beads of sweat formed on my brow, and at some point my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. I considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go, at least not while Sadako's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the Irie Clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolving lights were flashing at the clinic. 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. There didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I had planned to leave Sadako in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. But with that police officer Oishi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly.
What's going on? Why are there so many police cars?
I gently put Sadako down in the shade of the thicket.
I don't know. I'll go see what happened, so you stay here for a moment.
I am curious. Oh wow, Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
goodness.
Ah!
I don't know. Sorry, Casey.
I did read the line.
Sorry, my bad.
Leaving a lady in a place like this wearing nothing but a bath towel. Simply unforgivable.
You can still fire off those insults. You'll be fine.
I'll be right back, I added, getting to my feet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers grouped at the clinic's entrance.
Inconspicuous.
I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. It was one of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday.
Who voiced this character?
I think that was me, actually. But someone else can take this if they want. We haven't even gotten sprites for these people. So you were the first... Okay. Okay, who's taking this?
So you were the first one to find this, since you were on morning duty. So then, what did it look like?
He was sitting on a sofa in the head office. He looked like he was taking a nap.
There was a jug and an empty bottle of sleep medication on his desk, so you immediately thought that he had tried to commit suicide with it. What else?
His high temperature and dilated pupils indicated a severe disturbance of consciousness. It seemed like a typical case of sleeping pill poisoning, so I immediately began to treat him.
Without calling the police or an ambulance?
This is a hospital, and I'm a doctor. Since his life was in danger, it's my job to treat him at once.
Yes, I understand. Okay, what else?
His breathing was in disarray, so I put him on a respirator. I also administered breathing stimulants. It had no effect, so I prepared a medical ventilator and...
Right. So in other words, you did what you could, but it wasn't enough. That's it, right? You reported this as soon as he died.
Yes, it was very unfortunate that we were unable to save him.
Just then, a radio from one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken mechanical voice. This is HQ! Hinamizawa, can you hear me? Over.
Pretty good.
The thing is, I am still reading Shibuya Scramble with another group, and I also voice somebody who comes in over the radio and that, so I have a voice for this. Anyway.
This is Komiyama. We've come up with something. It looks like he committed suicide with sleeping pills. No notes or anything.
You sounded so happy about it.
Yeah, I realized that.
Maybe everyone in town.
Finally, a sleeping pill suicide!
He committed suicide with sleeping pills!
You owe me $10 bucks!
Bingo now.
Suicide? What the heck were they talking about? Someone had committed suicide at the clinic. But who? I wished Takano-san dead, and she died the next day. And yesterday, I wished Coach was dead. Then, could he have...
Did he use sleeping medication regularly?
I don't really know.
Did he normally complain that he was tired or wanted to die?
Well, Irie-sensei was normally so... well, himself. He never acted like that.
So, I was right. Irie-sensei. They were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was that I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they'd die. That was the kind of world this was. Then, what about Oishi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, then something should have happened to him, too. I've sent you backup. The chief wants you to leave the rest of them and get back to searching for Oishi's car.
Sir, please excuse me then. It looks like we're getting relieved here. So please leave everything as it is right now. Alright, let's go.
The officers nodded and split up into the patrol cars. Did they just say, searching for Oishi's car? Searching for his car? That meant he had gone missing? Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi. When I wished for it, the very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you wished someone was dead, it didn't normally happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter such curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time, I hadn't even been walking, and yet, tap. I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time. Tap. Tap. They came from behind. And they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder.
Would you mind telling me what's going on?
Oh! Sadako, don't scare me like that.
I'm the scared one here. I'd prefer it if you didn't shout so suddenly.
It was Sadako. Her eyes were still unstable, unfocused, but she seemed able to at least walk on her own now. She looked far better now compared to her earlier exhausted state. Did she? Still looks a
She has
bit
normal
rough.
eyes now.
It's
She had
far
the
better.
dead eyes.
She looks like
Her eyes
annoyed.
got better.
Yeah, she looks annoyed, which is like a luxury
looks a
for
lot-
someone
she
who is
looks
not
a-
currently dying.
She does look a lot. She does
True.
look a lot worse than the original sprite, I have to say. Like her hair is just completely fucked up.
How do you feel? Are you better?
My head still hurts, but I can't stay outside looking like this forever.
She gave me a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were still shaky.
Anyway, what on earth is going on? From what I just heard the police talking about.
Coach apparently committed suicide.
Sadako was at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears.
Keiichi-san, is that true? Is Coach really dead? I didn't mishear you.
Rock, is this true?
True?
That's what I heard. They said Irie-sensei killed himself with sleeping pills.
Sadako went down on her knees and broke out in tears.
It can't be. Coach, he would never, ever kill himself.
As I watched Sadako crying and clawing at the grass, I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse.
Yuri didn't kill himself.
I got so angry that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday, that he betrayed me, that I thought he'd be better off dead. But even Coach, who to me deserved to die, must still have had people who loved and respected him. Like Sadako here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death, and it was granted. And now Sadako is crying hysterically as a result. So he's just not gonna question why Why the one person he's been wishing dead more than anyone else is still alive. Okay. The guilt tore at my heart. Do you think he's ever gonna make that connection? Well, it's Keiichi we're talking about. Anyway.
He'll make it 2 sessions from now.
I worked myself up to murder for Sadako's sake. I decided I wanted Sadako to be happy. But was that really all it took? Murder meant taking someone's life. It meant making...
Murder was illegal.
Murder was a crime.
Murder was a crime. It meant making everyone attached to that person sad. In Sadako's uncle's case, of course, nobody would be sad.
There's no double standards here at all.
I mean, to
Really
be fair,
not.
I wouldn't be very broken up about it. Anyway,
What do you mean? He's your cool Uncle Tepe.
so I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I had wanted to make Sadako happy, and that had resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my...
Sob.
Sadako still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be a little calmer now. Wiping her tears, she stood up.
I'm sorry.
And the only thing I could think of to say to her was an apology.
Why are you apologizing?
Well, yesterday I got into a fight with Coach, and I thought that I wanted him to die. I wanted it, so he really...
Sadako looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Keiichi, that's not how real life works.
That's fucking stupid.
See, that's magic.
Eventually, her expression softened as she interpreted my words in her own way.
It isn't your fault, Casey-san. Coach was an adult, too. He felt like there was something he had to give his life for, and chose to do so after a lot of worrying and suffering. It's not anyone's fault.
She smiled a little, trying to comfort me.
I do not want to be like this forever. I want some clothes.
Are you okay? Shouldn't you get someone at the clinic to...
I won't die from putting on clothes before going.
Sadako readjusted her bath towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly, and it didn't look like she'd recovered as much as she let on. At first, Sadako tried to go back home, but it was the time of the morning when people were going to school and to work, so after seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only the towel.
I'm going to Rika's house. My clothes should be there. What's wrong, Katie-san?
Sadako noticed how I was hanging my head and spoke to me.
Despite how he might have come off, Coach was an adult, alright? He would certainly not have killed himself after a petty fight with you, Katie-san. Please, stop blaming yourself.
At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. Wait, what?
I think that's... whatever. Fine.
Huh? What's wrong?
I think that's my line, but I don't... That was a weird display thing.
No, look, there's no quote at the end of Sadako.
Yeah.
There's only a quote at the end of Keiichi.
Oh, okay, the rest of this novel is just something Sadako is saying.
It's true.
Anyway, it is possible, yes. At first I thought it was a coincidence.
Well, I'm not reading everything.
But with 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. There was no such thing as impossible in this world.
These past few days haven't made any sense.
What hasn't?
Sadako seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still tried to listen to what I had to say.
At the Watanagashi festival the day before last, you went home on the way there, right? And I went there and had a lot of fun.
Okay, so it is
So
the
it would
18th.
seem. I do apologize for getting so upset with you about it.
Sadako remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little.
If I said I actually didn't go to the festival at all, would you still believe me?
Sadako looked at me, confused. She couldn't help it, of course.
Of course I wouldn't believe you. What are you on about?
You wouldn't, right? I don't believe it either. I mean, I didn't go to the festival, but everyone's saying I hung out with them there. Nobody would believe it, right?
Are you being serious?
Yeah. Ever since the night of Watanagashi, everything's been messed up. These weird footsteps suddenly started following me everywhere.
The blood drained from Sadako's expression.
Footsteps following you?
Yeah, I thought it was just my imagination at first, but they stayed with me. Probably still there. I can't tell them apart now because of your footsteps, though.
Sadako took a long and hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity, or perhaps looking for random bruising all over the body. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he, after telling him this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless.
On the day of the Watanagashi, I didn't go. I was doing something else. The whole time. I wasn't sleeping, or unconscious, or anything. It's just not possible that I walked to the festival half asleep and forgot about it afterwards.
It is quite strange. Then how were you at the festival?
That's what I mean. I didn't go to the festival.
No. I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, that'd be like proving that there's something wrong with my head.
Sorry. Well, nobody believes me, so... Yeah.
If that is what you say, Keiichi-san, then I'll believe you. Then what?
That night, I saw Takano-san, and it felt like she was looking down on me.
Well, this is probably gonna be the last day Keiichi's alive now. Good job, Keiichi.
Don't mention
So I
your
made a
encounter
wish.
with the white bitch.
I wish that she would die.
Ano-san does have that sort of air about her, doesn't she? I cannot say that I don't understand how you feel.
Did you know that Takano-san died? It happened yesterday. Apparently she was burned alive somewhere.
Is that true? She died?
I wished for her to die, and the next day, she was dead. And Oishi from the police too. Do you know him? That annoying and fat detective guy.
Okay.
Wow, so rude.
Annoying and fat?
Well, if
Two
it was,
worst
if it was,
crimes known to
if it
man.
was just one of the two, it would be okay, but...
Being fat was a crime.
Sadako nodded
Finally.
a little.
I heard from the police earlier that apparently he was missing. And yesterday, actually, well, I wished that he would die.
Is Is all this true?
I'm not lying. I don't want to believe it either, but it's true. Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi, I wanted them dead, and then they really died.
For a little while, Sadako was at a loss. A long silence ensued.
Oh, what a scary story. I should be sure not to get on your bad side, Keiichi-san.
That's not all. There's something even stranger.
Oh no.
It's about your uncle.
I would rather you not talk about my uncle.
He was there yesterday, right? At your house.
Could we please stop talking about him? I don't want to.
It's impossible. He couldn't have been there.
I said stop talking about him. No. No.
That man couldn't have been there after the night of Watanagashi. Because I...
No. No more. Please. No more about that man.
I killed him! With my own hands!
Even the cicadas stopped crying. Her face was streaked with tears, and it stiffened even more as she looked at me in disbelief.
On the night of the Watanagashi festival, I killed your uncle. So, it's impossible that he could have gone back home.
But still, he went back. And last night, he found fault with the dinner you made him, yelled all sorts of things at you, and then basically boiled you in the bathtub. That couldn't possibly have happened.
So I wanted to make sure I'd actually killed him. So yesterday, I went to dig up the corpse I buried. But the body wasn't there. Is that even possible? I killed him for sure, but there was no body. And he went home like nothing happened. Home to you, and that wasn't supposed to happen, was it?
Sadako's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away, like there was someone in front of her about to hurt her.
You probably think I've gone a little crazy, don't you? I don't blame you. I can't believe it myself.
Casey-san, I think you were very confused after all the people you wished were dead coincidentally died. You're just in shock at Coach's suicide, and you're really upset. I think you should stay home from school today and rest. I'll be fine, so please take care of yourself.
Sadako spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face, and knew that she didn't want to be around me anymore.
Once I show you to the clinic, I'll go home. Your legs are still shaking, aren't they? It would be terrible if you collapsed halfway there.
Really, I am fine now. I do not want to keep exposing myself to a man any more than this. Ha. Gah. Ha. Ha.
She wobbled up the shrine steps, looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up to her and helped her stay on her feet. But then Sadako promptly jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. Once she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged, and she wasn't even looking at me. At this point, I was being ignored. Well, it was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It really was a feeling of rejection. And that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. That was the path I chose for her, or this was the path I chose for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just so saddening. Don't be naive, Keiichi Maibara. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. You didn't do it so Sadako would thank you. You did it so Sadako would be happy. And that was what led to this ending. Rika-chan's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the town council. Has that been mentioned? I don't know if
Yes.
they
It
mentioned...
was.
Have they mentioned
Yes.
specifically disaster prevention? I forgot. God, I need to reread that chapter. Anyway, if you went past it, a little further through the shrine grounds, you'd apparently reach the back of the assembly hall. Sadako was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet crunching as she went. Did she want to get there as soon as possible? Or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then, I heard the vigorous sound of wings flapping. I turned around, and saw a crow. I hadn't seen many crows since coming to Hinamizawa. I saw them a lot in my old town, though. On garbage day, they'd flock to trash collection points, peck through the bags with their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. I'm sure this isn't an analogy for anything.
No, it doesn't.
Why would this be an analogy for anything? I've never heard of anything similar to that happening in this story. As I was remembering that, I saw a few crows flocking around the shrine's donation box. And I thought how terrible it was for someone to leave a garbage bag in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Even time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. I ran there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There's no way I would ever wish for this even by mistake. This was not. When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, fleeing into the sky. Wait, hold on. 16 by 9, there we go. When the crow's big, black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bag.
A rude thing to call Rika.
No, I can't do it.
What had I seen there? The scream had escaped from my throat before I understood what I was looking at. What was this? Sadako came over as well, realizing something had happened. And she looked over my shoulder. Then she screamed as well. You want to scream?
No.
Damn. This wasn't... The garbage bag was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of this stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right. Yes. It was Rika-chan. Our friend. Sadako's best friend. Always easygoing, clever as a cat, but so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend, Rika-chan. She was... Rika-chan was stark naked. She was face up, limbs sprawled. Her eyes were like glass, just staring up into the sky. And...
Rika. What?
Sadako broke down crying on the spot. And yet, she still couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gotten through the garbage bag and they dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. No, crows, they couldn't do this. On the spot, I started vomiting. This sour taste became a bitter one as I threw up over and over again. Rika-chan, her stomach was cut wide open, vertically, completely open.
Rika, what?
Crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, her organs, her bowels were dragged out like children's toys left all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. Color left my vision, a pounding headache, dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone, somewhere, had killed Rika-chan, brought her here, laid her here with her limbs sprawled out, and then cut open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction, like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few of the crows had hopped around inside that ocean. They walked around through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints. And those footprints, there were several still left on Rika-chan's body. Those sinister prints made it seem even more like a bizarre ritual killing. I may have wished for Takano-san and Coach and Oishi to die, but I didn't remember ever wishing for Rika-chan's death.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
I stumbled backwards and stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper? In a place like this? The newspaper was what was covering my hatchet. I had kept it wrapped up and on my belt in order to carry Sadako. And that newspaper had fallen off. Sheesh, don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up. And then Sadako looked at me with such disbelief as I'd never seen, and froze. She was looking straight at me, at the hatchet on my belt.
Eek.
Calm down, Sadako. This isn't what it looks like. Sadako, trembling madly, backed away.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't...
Murderer.
She didn't care at all that she was exposing herself through the towel. She just trembled and tried to step back from the demon in front of her.
Sadako, please, calm down. Please relax. Sadako.
No. No.
Screaming weakly, Sadako began to run unsteadily. Run away, that is.
Oh no, that'll kick in his prey drive.
Wait, please, wait, Sadako. You're wrong. It's not it.
The way she ran away, it was so weak, so slow. So if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab Sadako's shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. Alright, I forgot to change it back. Whoops. So, I had to follow her and try to clear this up.
You killed Takano-san and Coach and Oishi-san, didn't you? You killed my uncle, and then you killed Rika. You murderer.
No, it wasn't me. I didn't kill her.
What are you saying? You just said it yourself, did you not? You wanted them to die. And everyone died, didn't they?
Well, no. Just wishing that they were dead. That couldn't.
You don't even remember what you did, do you? How can I trust a person like you? Didn't your memory of killing them just slip your mind? No, maybe you're only pretending not to remember. Besides, what is that hatchet for? Try explaining that.
It's for...
See? Casey-san, you are a killer, aren't you? Why'd you do it? You were a little mean, but you were fun and kind, and once I even thought you might be my real Nini. Why did you turn into this?
I might have been able to slowly answer each one of Sadako's questions at a time. But in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a short period of time was impossible. I'm sure this isn't an analogy for the whole story. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. At the very least, I killed Sadako's uncle. There was no body, but I killed him. Without a doubt. At that point, I was far from innocent. And I wish Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi were dead. And that curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you'd say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually did die. And I realized that if I wanted people to die, they would. And, hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Oishi to the same fate. So, even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach's and Oishi's were completely premeditated crimes. Was I a killer, just like Sadako said? Was I unable to distinguish between illusion and reality, and turn into a demon without remembering it, becoming a killer who carried out Oyashiro-sama's curse? No, that couldn't be. It was impossible. Ah, damn it! The very word impossible was impossible in Hinamizawa right now. How many freaking times have I said that word these past 3 days? Sadako had started crying again and was walking unsteadily. At first it felt like she was still running, but now it felt like she was walking away crying from someone bullying her.
Why? Why did things turn out this way? Why?
If there was an answer to that, then I wanted to know it too. Why? Why had it turned out like this?
After Nini went away, I was lonely for a long time, but then Katie's-san transferred to our school, and everyone was happy again. It was fun again. Every day was beautiful.
Yeah, she was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, after that, Sadako and I shouted the exact same thing.
Oh, did it turn out like this?
How did it turn out like this?
The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle, our strange game of tag. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
I think all the bad things that are happening in this chapter happened because he cussed out the cicadas.
But he only did that later, so...
Well, it was
He actually did it when
retroactive.
visiting.
Oh, it was
Listen,
retroactive.
Yeah, but he actually first did it when he visited
Listen,
Tepe
Irie
first
killed
time, I
himself the
think.
moment. Irie just happened to kill himself the moment he realized that Keishi had cursed out the cicadas.
Eventually, I heard the murmuring of a stream. The forest parted, and a suspension bridge appeared. Sadako was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment. And when I stepped onto the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing Sadako to stagger and fall on the spot. Wait, hold on. That looks very different to me.
Don't come near me, you murderer.
Sadako shouted, her hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut, then this warmth flowing from my eyes would have been blood for sure. Interesting metaphor, considering the state of Rika's body.
Why did you turn out this way? Katie said, I really liked you.
I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but the distance between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Sadako would start shouting again, and say things that would hurt me deeply again. So, I couldn't approach any closer than this.
Sadako, I don't know how things turned out like this either, but I can say this. I wasn't the one who killed Rika-chan. At least that is true.
Please, stop being so absurd. How do you expect me to believe anything someone who can't even rely on his own memories has to say?
I tightened my hands into fists. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. Hinamizawa was crazy, ever since I wandered into it, lost on that one night. This insane world, where I was at the festival when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive. Where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mion and Rena started acting strangely, like they were possessed by something too. And Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say. And even Sadako, who I should have protected, was yelling me at like this. Was the price for killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing. At least I wanted to. So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, the days Sadako and I enjoyed in peace went so wrong.
Sadako, please believe me. I'm not a murderer.
Then what is the hatchet for? Can you give a convincing explanation for that?
Is this hatchet scaring you? Okay, I'll throw it away. That's what you want, right?
Sadako didn't nod, but she seemed to be in agreement with that proposition. I clumsily took the hatchet out of my belt, then dropped it over the side of the bridge into the stream below.
There, it's gone. Now, you'll listen to me, right?
Think I'll let my guard down just because you got rid of your weapon? Katie-san, you're strong. It would be easy for you to strangle me with your bare hands.
Like hell I would ever want to kill Sadako. You idiot.
Then what should I do? Should I put my hands on your head?
On my head.
Oh, on my head. Okay.
completely
I was wondering
different.
what the fuck that meant.
Yes, why don't you? Please, put your hands on your head and face the other way.
It was a cunning plan, much like the one she used during club activities. Putting my hands on my head and turning away would mean I couldn't attack Sadako very easily. I immediately acquiesced to her request, since it would make her feel better.
Is this alright? Please listen to what I have to say.
Sadako stood up, then carefully approached me from behind. And then, she actually came up right behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad that I wasn't allowed to turn around.
I sort of think I understand that it isn't your fault, Katesy-san.
Huh?
I think probably you've been possessed by something evil. Until before, I thought Katesy-san was a killer, but now I know, after looking into your eyes.
I could hear that Sadako was still crying, but her voice was gentle just the same.
As gentle as it always was. Katesy-san could never kill anyone. Something simply possessed his body and made him do evil things.
Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell.
Come to think of it, maybe they were possessed, just like Katesy-san. At the time, I was only thinking I would be killed, so I didn't think about it.
Why did you stop thinking?
But now I understand. That was the work of something evil that possessed you.
Sadako? What are you...
It was less like she was talking to me, and more like she was talking to herself, like she was confessing at my back.
I understand, you know. It isn't like I haven't experienced it myself.
Sadako's voice started to become mixed with sobs. Her pained voice tore at my heart. But I didn't know what Sadako was talking about.
I climbed to the top of the ritual storehouse once. It was a few years ago.
Once, when Sadako was playing hide-and-seek at the shrine grounds, she climbed onto the roof of the storehouse for ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near, and hid. Then, Sadako saw that she could get in through a window meant for ventilation. For Sadako, the word curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside the unknown storehouse. She removed the grating on the window, which was already hanging off, slid her small body into it, and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much, but after descending, she realized just how high up she'd been. Despite the darkness, she could still see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming in from the air window. And to her disappointment, it was just a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up tight from the outside and was made to not open from within. She would have to go back out through the ventilation window she'd come in from. But the window was high on the wall, and there was no way she would be able to climb back up. Sadako desperately tried not to cry, and racked her brain thinking of a way to get up there. There were a lot of birdcage-looking things hanging by chains from the ceiling. She took the hanging chains and strung them along the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to manage to climb up to the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And try she did. It was dark and creepy, and she didn't want to stay in there forever. The more she thought about that, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Sadako could hear the clinks and clangs of everything creaking under her weight. And then, just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she used to stick the chains on the wall flew off, and the chains all began to pull loudly and furiously every which way. Spurred on by the sounds behind her, she managed to get back onto the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the flailing bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke. And then one of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Under it was an image of Oyashiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off under one of the arms, and then trapped some of the other implements beneath it. It didn't take very long for her to grow scared of what she'd done. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine grounds. A few other children heard it and gathered around. And of course, Rika was one of them. Then, Rika's father, the shrine's priest, with an angry look, ran over. And then, as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. Wait, was this Sadako?
Yeah.
This whole time?
Yeah, it was Sadako.
The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key to the ritual storehouse was Rika. So, he scolded her, saying that this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. He was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something, and struck her with it several times. Rika's words at the time: "It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." A pitiful voice. I still can't get it out of my head. I should have said it was me. Oh wait, this was... Okay, yeah, this was Sadako. I got confused. Damn. Soggy, do you want to take this or nah? The rest of this?
I'll finish it for you. I should have said so, to save my best friend from that false accusation, without being afraid of Rika's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't remember doing. Ever since then, the world had been strange. I know, I understand. This is Oyashiro-sama's curse. His judgment for messing up the ritual storehouse and forsaking my best friend.
Oyashiro-sama's curse.
My father and mother, too. They vanished in that muddy stream. My mean aunt died, too. But then, Nini, who loved me more than anyone, ran away from home. And then, Keiichi-san transferred in, and I thought I'd finally gotten my fun life back. But this time, Keiichi-san was possessed, and even Rika got killed. There's something I heard once. Oyashiro-sama, when he really curses someone, he doesn't kill them right away. He goes in order of your closest friends, and after killing them all, he kills that person last. So, Keiichi-san, the curse got you too? I'm sure that Renaissance and Mion-san will be cursed next. And then they'll kill and be killed. No more. No.
Wait, what did she just say? Did she just say...
I kill you, you kill me.
Indeed.
No, Hinamizawa.
Calm down, Satoko. There is no curse. Nobody's trying to torment you.
When I turned around, I was thrust away with amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance. And I'd been pushed not into the bridge, but to the side. Towards the stream. No, This can't be happening. Ah! As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, it clearly wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go.
Sadako? Sadako!
I didn't understand myself, what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? Or was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus, and I saw Sadako. And I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. It was an expression of righteous anger, meant only for those who needed to die. Wait, hold on.
Die, you murderer!
That's a screenshot.
Give him back. Give back my Nini. Give back Rika and Mommy and Casey-san.
As she screamed, she jerked the bridge to and fro. She didn't have to do that. It was going to fall anyway.
I won't lose to the likes of you. I won't lose to some stupid curse. I will never, ever lose to you. You took everyone. I will never lose to you. Not ever.
Sadako, please, just let me say one thing.
I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to quell Sadako's agitation.
I know. What I did isn't exactly praiseworthy. No, in fact, maybe I should have never done it at all. But I did it because I wanted you to be happy. Please, just believe that.
You, at the very, very end, you're still pretending to be Katie-san.
Sadako didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say. And for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic.
I didn't do it, any of it, so you would praise me. If it made you happy, that was all that mattered. We were nothing without your smile. We were nothing. So after I disappear, please, smile. If you can get on with your new life, by my dying, then please, just smile. Can't you at least promise me that?
Stop speaking. Don't use Keiichi-san's mouth like that. Fall down. Die.
And those were the last words Sadako ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Sadako happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong?
Why the murder?
And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one, or was it Hinamizawa? Even after all of this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that was crazy, this world I'd accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world where I never doubted all the crazy times we had as a club could go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world wouldn't have ever ended with this, with Sadako pushing me to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. No. I'd probably already disappeared. Yes, probably. On the night of Watanagashi. I'm sure that in the world I really belonged to, I had vanished that night, and everyone was worried. It was laughable that I had taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oh, Yashiro-sama's curse on the 5th year. Was Sadako's uncle dying, and me disappearing? In the real world, Sadako had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance, and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen, and they would have a good time without me. Waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Sadako's smile, and my duty as her Nini. At this point, there will be nobody left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying, toothy smile of yours. We wanted to see it. One more time. My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was a sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now, I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Hinamizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to kill people whenever I wanted. If you still allow it, I'll wish for one last thing. The death of this very world, of this crazed Hinamizawa. So that nobody would ever again have to find themselves lost here again.
Does he know?
Again.
Take a shit.
Wait, huh?
Alright, huge shit taken.
What? 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 What?
Are you really surprised?
I was reading.
That's it.
Research notes too.
Okay, wow. Hold on. Yeah, let's go to research notes too. We still got an hour.
Time for more funny
Here we
stuff.
go. I've never heard of this topic before. Does anyone know how to pronounce this?
I think it might be like
Like for example,
Oyashiro?
to be specific, my question is,
Do you know Oyashiro-sama? No, Hinamizawa.
Jesus Christ. Okay, anyway, who wants to take this?
Yes, Hinamizawa.
I assume this is probably Takano, but if someone else wants to take this. I mean, after all, Oyashiro-sama's curse is her life's work. Wink, wink.
What about Oyashiro-sama's messenger, though?
Okay,
Fine.
who's taking this?
Oyashiro-sama. Nobody really knows what characters to use to write Oyashiro-sama. Knowing this is hard, partly because depending on the time period, he's been called with various titles, with subtle changes to his name, and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all time periods agree on is that the 4 syllables O, Ya, Chi, and Ro are always used. There's a theory stating the shrine, or Yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama itself, became an object of worship. And that people began calling it Oyashiro-sama, or Lord Honorable Shrine, but this doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furude family, the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping Oyashiro-sama, actually inherited his blood. And in the legend, the Furude family passes down, if for 8 generations in a row the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. we go by this legend, the character's use for Oyashiro-sama's name should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. These character assignments these character assignments are simply something I thought up. There is no way to verify it. If this is true, then Oyashiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions, so this isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment or something along those lines, and he must not forget they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folk in the village. The rumors say she is the 8th generation, and Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least, I can confirm that for the past 2 generations, the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watches over Hinamizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it once again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? A gruesome feast of the demons who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who could only cry, scream, and run for their lives. What would that look like? Just imagining it is enough to make my heart pound with excitement.
Yeah, okay, that's how you know this is Takano.
That's the reveal at the end.
If there was any doubt remaining.
Yeah, okay, that's the final tip. Because I just got the achievement for all tips. But we still apparently have more. Even though our supposed protagonist is dead.
Wasn't there kind of usually like an epilogue?
This is not an epilogue, buddy. Also, the epilogue has not been presented like this. Usually we get the last tip, like, before this happens. So this is weird. Anyway, my head was pounding. The sky was bright. It was cold, too. It hurt. Hey, maybe you're gonna get your theory confirmed. Each sensation I felt led to a new and different one awakening. When I came to, I was lying face first on a dry riverbed. A few body parts hurt a lot. The skin over a bunch of my joints was torn, turned blue or red, or oozing blood. I could tell it was my bones that were in pain from the agony I felt whenever I moved.
My God, he's a zombie.
Well, yeah, that was Soggy's theory. Is that there's zombies. Anyway, I looked up and saw how high the bridge from which I had fallen was. Considering I dropped from there, it was a miracle that I could open my eyes again. Right next to me was a broken, upside-down car seat, which I guess some pranksters had brought here. Wait, a car seat, you say? Oishi? Anyway. Maybe.
Car reference?
Maybe.
There's no AC on the car seat, so it can't have, you
The AC isn't in the car seat!
No, it is.
But the AC is always where Oishi is. It wouldn't make sense otherwise.
Into the car.
It wouldn't make sense for Oishi to be somewhere at Hinamizawa AC wasn't. Anyway, maybe this thing had been conveniently lying right under me, allowing me to escape instant death. Miraculous! Of course.
You really like that word, don't you?
I didn't know whether this miracle was fortunate or unfortunate. I'd failed to die, and now I was still stuck in this insane world. How long had I been unconscious for? The sun was high in the sky, so it looked like only 1 or 2 hours had passed. But my body's sluggishness didn't make it feel at all like so short a time had gone by. Mentally, I felt like I'd been asleep here for a decade. The more feeling returned to my body, the more the pain flooded in. It hurt so much, it would have been better not to have woken up. I needed to go to a doctor, or to get to a doctor. Yeah, to Coach's clinic. The term Coach's clinic brought memories back one after another. Memories I wish I hadn't recalled. Sadako was no longer on the bridge. She would have returned to Hinamizawa by now. And she would put on some clothes, go to the clinic, get a checkup, and report on how crazy I had seemed. The police were waiting for me, without a doubt. This time, would they find out for real that I'd killed her uncle and arrest me? Or would they just send me to a mental institution like I thought they might? Still, I didn't care which it was. Please, someone stop all this pain. You can boil me or cook me after that, whatever you want. I began to walk unsteadily, just limping along. I went downstream, and then through an animal trail-like path in the woods. I walked haphazardly, searching for a path I knew. Eventually, I finally came across a familiar road and set off towards the clinic. Not to my house, but to the clinic, which had treated me like a lunatic. Keiichi, can you talk to your fucking parents for once? Good lord. Okay, maybe not right now, since your bones are broken, but, like, any other time would be great.
Exist. He can't if they don't exist, to be fair.
They went on a several months-long vacation to Namibia or something.
I did. Yeah. I have to admit, I am really excited about the prospect that me saying that Keiichi's parents were dead in Chapter 1, a theory that got disproven immediately, could now be true again. I really want to believe. Anyway.
Want to believe? Whoa.
It was hot and humid. There was no wind.
Hotline Miami reference.
There was no wind, and the air was stagnant. For a while now, I've been smelling the terrible stench of burned eggs, like some sort of, swamp gas? For a while now, I've been smelling the terrible stench of burned eggs, and it made my face scrunch up. And then, at last, I noticed something. I couldn't hear any cicadas. It was the first time I'd heard Hinamizawa be so utterly silent. When I thought back, it seemed like birds always chirped in the morning, cicadas always cried loudly in the afternoon, and Higurashi always rose up in chorus in the evening. Always something to hear. I couldn't hear a single insect. The only thing I could hear was the rustling of the wind brushing the treetops. I'd never experienced this sort of quiet before. Even the only sound coming from the trees lacked life somehow. The trees were yellow, and many leaves were spread on the ground, despite it being a bit too early to be autumn. Even the weeds that had been growing so persistently at the side of the road had yellowed, browned, and lost their vigor. Only the sunlight itself was of the June Hinamizawa I knew. And yet it seemed like the seasons had switched all of a sudden. Looking at the fallen leaves and rotting weeds led me to spot a few small insects turned on their backs. They weren't moving. They were corpses. I looked closer to see insect corpses scattered all around, like a child had collected them as samples and strewn them about. A stench. What was it? Could it be swamp gas? It was terrible. Like burned eggs. Combined with all the bug corpses and leaves falling from the trees in summer. Had someone sprayed herbicides or pesticides around here? If it is swamp gas, I'm gonna be so fucking excited. Anyway.
I thought gas leaks typically smelled like burnt eggs.
I don't think a gas...
I mean,
here's the thing, though.
Odorless. Those are the dangerous ones.
There's additives in
there's
gases to make them
additives
smell.
in the gas to make
Natural
it smell
gas
like burned
does
eggs.
not smell.
However, it would be pretty extreme for it to get so bad that it starts killing the plant life. So I'm still fingers crossed it's swamp gas. Anyway.
It's just a lot of gas.
Even at school, we apparently fumigate. They call it pest disinfection or something, once or twice a year. I hadn't run into anybody, despite how bright it was outside. Almost as if a hypothetical volcano had sprung up. It was mid-afternoon, and yet it felt like I were sauntering about at midnight. Well, with this smell, no one would want to be walking around outside. Just, what was this, anyway? There was no sound, no noise, not even a breath. Hinamizawa was silent. The school would come
No, Hinamizawa.
Shut up! The school would come into view right after turning this corner. And yet, I couldn't hear any commotion at all. None of the shouts or grunts that children always made. It was simply quiet. Although, I do suppose that there is... Sorry, let me get the soundboard up. I suppose that at this point there is...
No, Hinamizawa.
If a volcano did go off in the middle of it, I would suppose. Pretty big assumption, though.
Just as pretending to ignore this. I mean, if it's bad enough that stuff is fucking dying, it's pretty bad.
Could have been just the cicadas.
They're just throwing a big surprise party for Keiichi.
Yeah, and they had to kill all of
And
the
they
cicadas
invited the
beforehand.
bugs.
No,
Yeah,
they have. Wait,
they invited the bugs.
yeah, the bugs are all zombies. They're gonna get up and start walking soon.
The bugs are all
The
bunnies,
cicada,
actually.
the cicadas are in on the surprise. The bugs
They're
are
having a
all
surprise
bunnies.
birthday party for Keiichi. Whoa.
I'll have you know it's duck season.
Oh my god.
Many are saying
Okay,
this.
anyway, just as pretending to ignore the silence had grown intolerable, I saw the school. And finally, I heard something. It was the sound of a few trucks. There were a few very tall trucks parked in the schoolyard, idling. About 10 workers in raincoats were unloading things from their trunks. It was hot and humid even in my casual clothing. I couldn't imagine how unbearable that must have been. Didn't they say that these trucks have been, like, untouched for years?
But that's why move like the.
They said that about
just
the
said tall trucks.
tractor or something. That was not tractor.
Yeah.
Construction equipment.
And then I remembered. Our school was rented from the Forest Service field office building, wasn't it? It wasn't strange at all for Forest Service trucks to be doing some kind of work in the schoolyard. Besides, what did forest rangers do anyway? I felt bad for them having to work in such heat, and with such a stench about. They were taking colorful cargo out of the truck and lining it up in the schoolyard. There were containers, fairly large ones, inside multicolored patchwork bags. Heavy, too. They were being carried in pairs. They lined them up very neatly, like a tuna at a riverside fish market.
They're like coffins or something, isn't it?
I'm guessing so, yes. Several, dozens, hundreds of tuna were completely lining the fairly wide schoolyard up. I forgot my pain for a little while, captivated by this big forest ranger job I'd never seen before. As I stood there, watching in a daze, the people in raincoats working on the other side noticed me. One of them pointed me out, and they shouted a few things back and forth. I thought they might yell at me for getting in their way, so I decided to leave post-haste. But then, 2 trucks drove up behind me. I stepped aside, and they entered the schoolyard.
2 trucks having sex?
No, they were straight. And the same gender. Anyway, they were not roommates. Sheets covered their
That's what you think.
Sheets covered their trunks, but I could tell they were completely full Each one
Damn,
contained
you staring at the trunks of
tomatake.
the trucks?
As they passed, there was an awful smell that made me want to choke. It wasn't the same burned egg smell as before, but an even worse one, like rotten crab meat. What on earth was it? I've been enshrouded in one terrible stench after another all day. Then, certain white letters emblazoned on the side of the passing trucks caught my eye. Ground Self-Defense Forces. The fucking SDF is here? Oh, that's wonderful. That's a good sign.
It's just swamp gas, guys.
What? Self-Defense
Trust.
Forces? Like the army? I've had a feeling that something like this might happen. I'm surprised it's happening now.
I thought that was basically what was happening at the end of the first chapter.
It was actually the Onishiro Illuminati.
That was what like the
set off an
mysterious
ion bomb.
uniformed men were. I thought they were like the army.
Well, but that guy should have been Irie, right? So it would have been the Mountain Dogs, not the SDF. Unless they're the same
director,
thing,
you
but I
mean?
doubt it. I'm almost certain at this point that the director was Irie. I'm almost completely certain.
He
Anyway,
Okay.
is. That's like confirmed.
is it? I
Just
don't think
literally
they
the same
always
word in
trust-
the original Japanese.
Always trust the red names. They would never lie to you.
Okay. Well,
But it's actually the same
regardless-
kanji used.
Regardless of
in-
whether you say it or not, I believe that Irie was the director. Anyway. Self-defense forces? Like the army? What was the army in the schoolyard?
Hey, where did you come from?
Suddenly, someone slapped me on the shoulders from behind. I turned around, and a canopied SDF jeep was parked there. The SDF person had on a green raincoat and a gas mask like in the movies, carrying a compressed air cylinder. He didn't look normal. There wasn't an inch of exposed skin anywhere.
Where did I... Ow!
When I tried to talk, I stretched a wound on my head. It made the SDF people exchange glances. I couldn't see their faces through their masks, but they seemed surprised.
You live in Hinamizawa? Can you tell us your name and address?
Well, yeah, I sort of live here. My name is Keiichi Maibara. Oh, and my address. Hinamizawa Village, Shishibane.
After seeing me tell them my name and address without hesitation, one of the SDF people watching from the jeep started talking into a radio.
Base, do you read? Base, do you read? We have a 402. Survivor discovered. I repeat, we have a 402. We found a survivor. He's in front of the Forest Service office.
This is base. We copy. Secure the survivor at once. What is his status?
Healthy. Wounded all over, but not fatally. He can walk on his own. We'll send him to HQ for safety.
I was prepared to go along with the police, but the SDF? I couldn't help but think it seemed a little bit much. They urged me into the back of the jeep, and then they told me to put on this gigantic gas mask. I did so, and one of the troops fiddled around with it, strapping it tightly to me. It was heavy, hard to see out of, hot, and difficult to breathe. Just looking at the world through the lens made it lose its sense of reality. My breathing sounded like some giant monster through the mask. At this point, I had no idea what was happening. With much trepidation, I asked the trooper adjusting my mask.
Excuse me. Has something happened?
Who are you? What were you doing?
Hey, don't answer a question with more questions. I was the one asking you.
I fell from a rope bridge way back in the mountains. I think I passed out on the riverbed. I don't actually know what day it is.
Today is June 22nd, 1983, Wednesday.
Okay, so it is only like 2 days after. No,
It would have been one
day.
day after, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Right, I got mixed up with the date being 1 day earlier. So just to be clear, Watanagashi is the 17th, right? Should be.
19th.
Is it the 19th? Because
Yeah,
if it was the
because
day
20th
before,
was
it would be pushed
the
back.
20th. The 20th was the day after Watanagashi.
Yep.
Oh, wait,
That
you're
checks
right.
out.
Yeah, okay, so it's the 19th. June 19th. Anyway, that surprised me. Sadako pushed me off the bridge on Tuesday the 21st. That meant I'd been asleep on that riverbed for an entire day.
Forgive me for asking again, but did something happen? Why is the SDF here? Is this a drill?
Had my question been that difficult for him? None of the troopers would answer me. We committed war crimes here, kid. Wait, why is it in novel mode? What? Huh?
Proceed.
Get noveling.
The one in the driver's seat talking on his own radio turned on the vehicles. He turned the dial and some broadcast station or another came in. I started to listen to the voice of a radio announcer I was familiar with. Who wants to be radio announcer?
Was conducted at the Prime Minister's office. In regards to the questions from the press that the SDF not responding to the disaster promptly was directly related to the unprecedented, unheard of catastrophe, Chief Cabinet Secretary Okuno had this to say. This is someone else.
And so, I believe once the SDF received the dispatch order from the prefectural governor, they responded promptly.
According to him, the SDF was prompt to respond to the crisis after receiving their orders. He implied that it was the prefecture's responsibility for taking too long to comprehend the situation. When did the governor who requested the SDF's dispatch actually become aware of the outbreak of such an unprecedented catastrophe? And did he not invite further damage because of the time lost before he sent a request for disaster relief? In other words, because of the bureaucracy? We are awaiting further investigation into the matter.
That was Mr. Okada, reporting from the Prime Minister's official residence. At this point, we can take another look at the political response following this disaster. In the middle of the night, between June 21st and June 22nd, a large-scale disaster broke out in Hinamizawa village, Shishibone. The details have not yet been investigated, but there was an eruption of volcanic gas from somewhere in the Hinamizawa. Okay, but what if there's a volcano underneath the swamp? Then it would be swamp gas.
Sadako wished the volcano.
Anyway, so the
exists.
hypothetical volcano exists now. The details have not yet been investigated, but there was an eruption of volcanic gas from somewhere in the Hinamizawa area. The gas
You really
was,
like words, don't you?
the gas was
Best it was miracle than gas?
the gas was relatively heavy, and as it spewed out, it began to flow. That flow went down along a small river and headed directly into Hinamizawa village. After a few hours, it had covered the entire region. It happened in the middle of the night. 2 to 4 a.m. Every home and household in the village was afflicted. With most of the residents asleep, it is thought that all died without noticing the crisis. The catastrophe striking in the middle of the night caused its detection to come too late. But there was still one small opportunity to have noticed it. 3 a.m. A news dealer shop in Okinomiya sent a vehicle carrying the morning newspaper to its branch office in Hinamizawa. Usually, the shop would be contacted upon the vehicle's arrival, but this morning, that didn't happen. The news dealer's shop made repeated calls, but got no response. The shopkeeper sent his eldest son to check on things, but they lost contact with him as well.
It is extremely regrettable. If they had contacted the police or fire department at this point, it is highly possible the situation would have turned out more positively. At the very least, it's possible that a portion of the village might have been saved from tragic annihilation.
6 a.m. Residents in areas in the same region began continuously calling 199 to report the smell of rotten eggs, dizziness, nausea, and headaches. The fire department received the same reports, all from the same confined region. They speculated a truck loaded with chemicals may have gotten into an accident and reported it to the local police. 6:30 a.m. Contact was lost with a patrol car on duty in the Hinamizawa area after the officer reported the smell of rotten eggs. Listen, I've been reading for a while, okay?
Area.
We're gonna have to execute you now.
Shut up!
He's gonna have to.
Everyone was already
We're
executed.
gonna have to do it all over again. Just new take, start over, back from the start.
Entire recording over. Scrap the
Hold on,
video.
let me go to the main menu
Delete.
real quick.
Delete.
Anyway. We can start a new game. Anyway. Contact was lost with a patrol car on duty in the Hinamizawa area after the officer reported the smell of rotten eggs. The local police considered the possibility of a large-scale disaster involving highly lethal gas and reported it to the prefecture and prefectural police at 7:15 a.m. Lethal gas! Yeah!
This kind of
favorite.
This all happened because you mispronounced area.
That's the only reason this happened. 8 a.m. The governor was traveling to nearby prefectures for inspection, so in accordance with regulations, the prefectural environmental disaster prevention team was provisionally escalated to Director General and set up a disaster countermeasures office. That's a lot of big words, damn.
He's syllabic.
However, without contacting the governor, the countermeasures came too late.
Who is this?
I don't... Let me see.
You were
This
you were
new
doing
guy?
the radio
Without
thing prior to
contacting the
this.
governor. Oh no, wait, it's the disaster prevention chief, I
Yeah.
guess. Who wants to be the disaster prevention chief and read this whole paragraph? A lot of takers for this one, I see. As has recently been pointed out by citizens groups, his trip with honorary Diet members to inspect other prefectures was based solely on good relations, and it's rumored they preoccupied themselves with a drinking party. Sources closer to him claimed the governor had been drinking all night, and had gone to sleep in a drunken state. He was completely drunk when the environmental chief phoned him as well, and apparently could not get him to pay any attention to the matter. And so, the authorities, in the hour or so it took the governor to grasp the situation and sober up, did nothing but accumulate information. If you wanna take this, Sagi, you can, but...
Fine. Though not as extreme as the governor's case, the environmental chief who became director general in the governor's absence will likely also be questioned about his negligence. In addition, without any procedures in place on the prefecture's side, that predicted catastrophes this massive, they would always react too late, and that ended up being fatal.
9:12 a.m. On the advice of the prefectural police, the governor requested a disaster relief mission from the SDF. By the time the Chemical Defense Unit, equipped with protective equipment, arrived on the scene, 8 hours had already passed since the incident's outbreak.
Oh, whatever the case may be, it was unfortunate that this happened while everyone was sleeping in the middle of the night. Had the same disaster occurred during the day, it likely would have been entirely different.
All households in the Hinamizawa village region were wiped out. There were over 1,000 victims. The SDF is still confirming the situation on the ground, but the results are predicted to only increase that number.
Here with us in the studio today is Dr. Fujiwara, a professor at Blank University, who is well acquainted with volcanic disasters. Doctor, can such a sudden and horrible outburst of poisonous gas actually happen?
Grumble, do you want to take this? I mean, Rena is the expert on volcanoes, after all.
What? Oh, yeah. It isn't all that unusual for this to happen right around craters, at least. Japan is a volcanic nation, and so has many active volcanoes. There's always danger of hazardous gas around any of these craters, and it's generally a rule among mountain climbers not to go near them.
Does this mean that the rotten egg smell that visited Hinamizawa village was the normal sort of gas from volcanic craters?
Judging by how it smelled like rotten eggs, we think it was hydrogen sulfide, a gas seen particularly frequently in accidents compared to other volcanic gases. If it's dense, it becomes extremely dangerous.
Hinamizawa village is very far away from the craters of any volcanoes. Can hydrogen sulfide be generated even from a place not close to the crater?
I don't know all the details, so I can't say anything concrete. But in other countries, there are records of gas eruptions due to magma buildup under hot springs. It's an extremely rare event, but it is possible for such a thing to happen even in a region not near craters.
Limnic eruption confirmed?
I don't know if that's how limnic eruptions actually happen. I would need to Google it. Can somebody Google that for me? Double check.
No.
No.
Typically occurs in volcanic crater. Wait, that's AI. I'm not looking at that.
Grok, is this true?
A cool lake bottom indicating an absence of direct volcanic heat with lake waters. So probably not. Proximity to areas with volcanic activity, so that's not really necessarily the cause, I suppose. Anyway.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We appear to have an announcement from the Japan Defense Agency. Miss Morikawa, are you there?
Yes, I'm at the Japan Defense Agency. The agency has just made an announcement regarding the source of the Hinamizawa village gas disaster. Analysis from the Ground Self-Defense Forces Department of Chemistry has found that the gas was a mixture of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide.
Oh, carbon dioxide, you say? Like that thing that's
like a
released
limnic eruption?
during limnic eruptions, possibly?
Miss Morikawa, do you know whether the gas is still erupting or spreading to nearby areas?
According to the SDF 7th Division, who are currently engaged in a rescue operation in Hinamizawa village, the gas density is steadily decreasing. They've announced that the damage will not spread. However, it does not change the fact that surrounding areas are still in danger, and that very strict observation must be maintained.
That was Morikawa from the Japan Defense Agency. And now we have a report on the state of those who have been made to evacuate the Okinomiya area. Shimoshinozaki Elementary School is one of the evacuation sites, and we currently have a reporter on scene.
Wait. What?
Okay, that's
Repeat that entire thing.
That's an appropriate reaction to all this.
Yeah, that's a pretty appropriate reaction, to be honest.
Reaction.
Please repeat that entire thing for me.
Inside the Jeep, clambering and bouncing along the rough road, none answered my muttered question.
Did you understand my explanation?
An unprecedented catastrophe had destroyed Hinamizawa in a single night? Where was Hinamizawa village anyway? Someplace deep in the mountains, right? Names of places I'd heard about on the radio were always like that. They were all places I'd never heard of, much less knew the locations of. Wiped out? What does that mean? Don't they usually say how many died and how many were injured? So wait, so in Chapter 1, when he was found with his throat clawed out, was it actually swamp gas? Yo! Anyway.
Swamp gas.
Well, I think it would have been noted if people this disaster died through clawing their throats out.
Anyway. Okay, but the... See, the thing is, the reason I suspect that is because the news report at the end intentionally omitted an entire year of information after, just to skip to the part with the note. Anyway, how many people were alive? Where did everyone evacuate to? I've got bad news for you, Keiichi. Eventually, we came into view of Coach's clinic. For the first time, I saw the flag of Japan hanging on a pole outside. Japan's circular sun hung down as though exhausted. Many SDF tents were set up in the clinic's big parking lot, and many strict security vehicles were parked there as well. When they saw the jeep coming, men in white clothing and gas masks came out of the clinic, frantic, carrying a stretcher.
You're going to be alright. How do you feel? Can you walk?
Yes.
And because of my ows, they forced me to lay in the stretcher anyway, almost as if all the bones of my body had been broken from falling off a bridge. People who seemed like doctors were looking at me and notifying others of my condition via radio.
Multiple wounds, high possibility of fractures and internal damage. Large laceration in the head.
Pupils normal, but even without bleeding from the fundus, brain damage is still possible.
What is a fundus?
It's like a money fungus.
A part of a hollow
Money
organ
fungus.
that is farthest from the
A
open.
cat.
Oh, so
a
like,
cash room.
so like as in,
The eye.
so like the back of the pupil is what he's referring to. Okay. And then, from the clinic entrance, people lying on stretchers were brought outside to replace me. Judging by their clothing, they were from Hinamizawa, and that's how I knew they were victims. They brought the stretchers in front of a truck. Two troops, holding shoulders and legs like some kind of baggage, picked them up and threw them into the trunk. In the trunk of the truck, people's bodies, piled in heaps. They were just like baggage, and that told me they were already nothing but shells. At that moment, I remembered all those colorful sacks filling the trunks. And them, lined up in the schoolyard like a fish market. Hundreds of empty shells. Corpses. 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 Corpses!
You jackasses! Don't just throw the victims in like that. They lived here.
The troops carrying the sacks answered with a humble salute. The world didn't need this insane version of Hinamizawa. My final wish, again, it was granted. I didn't understand anything anymore. None of it mattered. I wished. I cursed. And then it happened the next day. Then please, tomorrow morning, let me die. That insane night. It's still going on. Please. Please end it already.
Hey, he lost consciousness. Shout his name, quickly.
Maibar-kun, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just blink. Maibar-kun? Maibar-kun? Maibar-kun?
Suddenly, the world didn't matter to me anymore. I wasn't interested in their cries.
Breathing stopped. Get his respiratory tract open. Use CPR. Make him live. Damn it, damn it! No more dead people. Nobody deserves to die. Don't kill him. Don't kill him.
Jesus. I could hear the voice of a man crying and screaming in my ears. Nobody deserves to die. Those words came from his heart. They were so commonplace, and they soaked into my heart too. Maybe it was a mistake to take someone's life, even if it was to save Sadako. If this is the price I had to pay, this horrible tragedy, then this is a little much, Oyashiro-sama. Why did you never punish me? Didn't you hear what Sadako said? Okay, yes you did. Come to think of it, Sadako said something. Ryukishi could sense that I was about to start complaining. Oyashiro-sama's actual curse never goes through the target at first, but kills everyone they love before that.
Written in real time, by the way.
Oyashiro-sama's curse. It was a convenient excuse I told myself at the very end, that it wasn't my curse that destroyed it, but Oyashiro-sama's. Given that I was in a stretcher, this next bit might have been obvious. But last of all, I realized one thing. Yeah. Today, I had not heard those footsteps following me even once. And now
Finish your drink.
I was liberated. Why is that a finished? Oh, right.
All
Wait,
those
no.
ellipses.
That's not a finished drink, though. I didn't put one for that.
Too late. Drink gone.
Too late.
Of water. And
Down
now
the can.
I was liberated. Of water. As the cries of the Higurashi I couldn't have been hearing filled my mind. Their tearful ensemble.
The cries gave way to tears for the water.
Their tearful ensemble was the only funeral march I had. Liberation escaped at last. That's the achievement. June 22nd, 1983, early morning. A widespread disaster occurred in Hinamizawa village, Shishibone Prefecture. Volcanic gas, carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide erupted from... Oh! Wow! Anyway.
He's turning into a swamp man.
Listen, it's just volcanic gas that happened to pass through the swamp.
Whatever, man. Same shit. Also, I suggested it was an limnic eruption in the first place. Volcanic is close enough. Anyway. Volcanic gas, carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide erupted from Onigafuchi Swamp, one of the Hinamizawa area's water sources, and spread through the entire village. There were 1,200 victims. 20 have gone missing. The catastrophe was unprecedented, forcing local governments to evacuate approximately 600,000 people. According to later investigations, magma pools and hot springs were uncovered directly under Onigafuchi Swamp, and the gas that gushed from it was determined to be the cause of the disaster. So it really is connected to hell. Good to know. In addition, directly after the incident broke out, many came forth claiming this disaster was a curse based in Hinamizawa village legends, first sparking a wave of chaos. There were apparently local legends of a curse spreading a miasma, destroying the village, and some scholars believe a similar gas disaster may have happened in the past, and remain part of these legends. I feel so vindicated right now. More extreme periodicals suggested this was an extension of the string of freak death incidents that had been happening in recent years in Hinamizawa village, stirring interest in theories about this curse of Oyashiro-sama. In addition, relatives of those in Hinamizawa village who had escaped the disaster complained of sickness afterwards and were hospitalized. See, I know I shouldn't be, like, happy and excited right now, because everyone's dead, but, like, come on, man.
They'll come back next Kalpa.
Yeah, well, surely we'll be able to save them next Kalpa
But
from this
but
disaster
Teppei's
that
fine,
killed
right?
them in their sleep. Yeah, Teppei's probably fine. He'll walk it off. In addition, relatives of those in Hinamizawa village who had escaped the disaster complained of sickness afterwards and were hospitalized. Some of them even died of unknown causes, further encouraging such extreme opinions. On top of that, several relatives professing to be possessed by Oyashiro-sama's curse committed suicide in strange ways. And the impact the disaster has had on the entire nation can no longer be ignored. Wild villages... Why did I say villages, almost? Wild visions of terrible toxic gas sneaking around in the middle of the night, killing people spread across the country, causing a steady stream of people complaining of insomnia, difficulty breathing, headache, dizziness, etc. Some who identified themselves as being obsessed by it began doing odd things. Most of these were mistakenly attributed by the tabloid press, but afterward, some even began to call the mental issues arising from the Hinamizawa tragedy the Hinamizawa syndrome. The Hinamizawa village region, the object of all kinds of rumors and speculation, is currently closed off, and even flying overhead is prohibited. The prohibition was at one point undone as a result of a decrease in the gas's density, but that autumn another gas burst was confirmed, leading the area to being cordoned off again. Word is that the area is sound asleep, and all traces of its former life intact and left to rot. Only one survivor remains, Keiichi Maebara, who lived at Hinamizawa village. At the time of rescue, he had some trouble breathing due to a fluid buildup in his lungs, but as a result of life-saving procedures, he was kept alive. He is currently in a general hospital somewhere in the prefecture. The press have been asking him for some time, but all interviews are being refused. What did he see in Hinamizawa? What happened between June 21st and 22nd in Hinamizawa village? Today he remains silent, unwilling to speak of it. Great Hinamizawa disaster in memoriam list. Wait. Jiro Tomatake, real name unknown. Possibly committed suicide in the village on 6/19.
Oh my god, this is way too much information.
I'm just
give me 621. 621. Where are you going Teppei's fine! Teppei's fine, everybody! Teppei's fine!
Naruto just went missing.
He's missing!
Yeah, everybody's favorite uncle. Oh, Tomita and Okamura are dead.
Great. Oh my god.
Wait,
She
committed suicide!
Oh my god.
Diagnosed with a severe mental disorder.
What?
Okay, we're gonna need to go back.
Oh,
We're gonna need to go
have to
back and
look at
read
this in the
this. God
recording.
damn it.
This is cruel.
Look at all the look at all the burn.
No! No! There's so much!
Yeah, look at all of it.
Oh my
There's so
god!
much. Part of me wants to go something.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're gonna need to look at the replay of this. Okay. Should we just have next session just be like...
This is so peak.
Should we just... Should we just like have...
The path here has been a long one, but we're only midway through. There is a lot of stuff to something. Yeah, to come.
Well, yeah, obviously. Okay, so are we all in agreement that when we do our, like, before we do our all-cast review session, we're gonna go back and read that text that... What's not over?! June XX 2003.
It's, 20 years later.
An elderly couple living in Osaka Prefecture discovered a cassette tape while organizing the possessions of their son, who passed away 8 years ago. Their son went missing when his fishing boat capsized in 1995. He was 47 at the time of his death. 8 years later, in 2003, they had begun to organize their son's remains in order to organize their minds, and came across the cassette tape in question. From 1973 to 1989, the deceased had experienced working as a journalist for a photography periodical. See, I had a feeling, but I was kind of hoping. Anyway. And this tape is thought to have been created during that time. The label on the tape read... The label on the tape read 11/28/1983, Keiichi Maibara. Okay, no, wait, never mind. This is not Tomatake.
Yeah, it's not Tomatake.
Damn it. I was really hoping. It is thought that the tape was recorded during an interview with Keiichi Maibara, the only survivor of the great Hinamizawa disaster that occurred in June of 1983. As the only person who lived through the disaster on the night of June 21st, shrouded in mystery, many interested parties attempted to question him, but he never once spoke physically to anyone in a public place. Therefore, the tape caused quite a stir, possibly being of extremely high value. Click.
It's really hard to talk about stuff when I know I'm being recorded.
Who wants dead reporter? That is not Tomatake. Thank you, everyone.
Please, don't worry about it. Here, it won't be a problem if I do this, right?
After this, the sound quality dramatically decreases, like I did when I had to use my VR headset to talk. Did he cover the recording device with something?
So let's get started. Here's my first question. Keiichi-kun, where were you the night of the great disaster?
I had gone behind a shrine, then took a path through the woods for a while. There's a rope bridge there, a little while before you get into the mountains. I fell from there and lost consciousness.
Did this happen during the night of the disaster, between the 21st and the 22nd?
No, it was the morning of the 21st, on Tuesday, which means I woke up on the afternoon of the next day. I think I was out for a day and a half.
Why on earth were you there? I mean, I'm sure everyone wants to know. But the bridge you fell from on that day, a weekday I might add, was quite far from both your house and the school, wasn't it? Speaking frankly, there are some who say you knew of the great disaster beforehand, and fell from the rope bridge as you were trying to flee the village.
This isn't a joke. Please don't be so arbitrary about this.
I think it's a terrible thing to say, too. Please, don't be offended. Anyway, about the rope bridge you fell from, it was right here on the map, right? The rope bridge beyond the back of the shrine and through the path in the woods.
Probably. I never went over there, so I can't say for sure.
Ha 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 ha. Come on. Oh. I guess I just want to know why you were out somewhere you'd never been before on a weekday morning. And then, well, about the riverbed you fell unconscious on. Have you heard the rumors about that being impossible?
Keiichi Maibara. Are you muted, Keiichi Maibara? Hello? Wallcraft? Uh-oh. You got injected with the drug that makes you kill yourself.
He huffed too much swamp gas. I'm sorry, I mean volcanic gas.
Impossible. That word. Again? Again.
I can just
Again. Okay, fine.
For a little while, Keiichi Maebara utters the word impossible several times. Why would it be impossible?
You know how the volcanic gas originated in the Onigafuchi swamp? Some scholars did some pretty delicate simulations and modeling and discovered something very interesting.
Yeah, I figured this was coming.
The volcanic gas was heavier than the air, so it went along the ground, flowing into lower and lower places, kind of like what water does. And with Onigafushi Swamp as its source, they were able to test how much time it would take for the gas to erupt and spread across the whole village. So, well, that... Oh, he died, yep. So, well, that riverbed you were unconscious on. The gas, it would have flowed down there.
I don't really understand what you're getting at.
In other words, if you're really passed out on that riverbed, you would have been in the middle of all the toxic gas that was spreading everywhere that night. That means there was no chance you could have been passed out there. Allow me to be a little more frank. I think that maybe you might be telling a lie. During the Great Disaster, you were hiding in a safe place, keeping an eye out for when the gas got thinner, then reappeared and were secured by the SDF. How about that? Is that right on the mark?
For a short time, the journalist presses Keiichi Maebara further, in a teasing way, but all that can be heard are heavy sighs. Even if that was the case, I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
What do you mean, you wouldn't be surprised?
Was this recording really taken of Keiichi Maebara? Some harbor suspicions. You said it before, didn't you? That it was impossible. Impossible things happen in Hinamizawa all the time. There are people who shouldn't be existing. Dead people end up alive. It's not really that unusual. Never thought I, of all people, would be asked to prove that I was still alive when I was supposed to have died. The journalist and Keiichi Maebara both laughed for a while.
Man, it was a really funny joke in Japanese.
To verify its authenticity, I had the others in the Maebara family check the tapes with his voice on it. However, the sound was not clear, and much time had passed, so the relatives I checked with couldn't remember what he sounded like. I was unable to gain positive proof it was actually his voice.
Alright then, I'll change the subject. What do you think of the debate about whether this disaster was the curse, the 5th year of the serial freak death incidents in Hinamizawa?
I don't think it was. I was the curse that year, after all.
Ha! What do you mean?
What do I was just answering the question. Doubts also remain regarding the date 11/28 written on the tape. The curse. Well, you probably won't believe me when I tell you this. I was the one who caused it. I was the one who wished for the whole village to die, and it happened.
Ahaha! What an exciting story!
Exciting? I suppose you could call it that. After Maebara Keiichi's failed suicide attempt on a certain August day, 2 months after the disaster, he was diagnosed with a mental disorder and transported to a treatment facility. I was the one who killed Takano-san, and Coach, and Oishi too. At the time, I had some kind of divine power. Yes. I suppose it was like footsteps.
Footsteps. Wait, haha. What's that supposed to mean?
Have you never heard of footsteps before? Tip tap. Click click. Cuckoo. The facility never allowed any news coverage, so it's extremely unlikely that a tape from the media dated after August 1983 would have his voice on it. Today, when you're walking around, try stopping suddenly. Something interesting will happen. Anyway, if you hear an extra footstep, even though you've already stopped walking, you'd better be careful, you know?
Ha. Yes, I'll be careful. Ha.
Is what I'm saying really that funny to you? However, the reporter had been criticized for his forceful methods of collecting data while he was active, so there is still a possibility that he broke into the facility and forced Keiichi Maebara to talk. You've been doing nothing but laugh in my face this whole time. You're just like Coach. You pretend to sympathize with me, to listen to what I have to say, but your eyes are telling me you think I'm a lunatic.
Ha. That's not true. Ha.
No, I can tell. Your eyes are the same as Coach's. Is this truly Keiichi Maebara's voice? The authenticity of this recording is still wrapped in mystery. I've never heard the footsteps again after that day, so I don't think I have that terrible power anymore. Perhaps, right here, right now, I'll wish for you to die. I'll wish for your death for saying all these unpleasant things. Yes, this time. Why don't I decide how you die? Takeno-san was burned to death, so let's go with the opposite. With water. I hope you drown and die. How's that?
It did say he drowned earlier.
Yep, it did indeed.
Oh, okay, and then it puts it on screen.
15 years after this tape was created, the reporter, just as Keiichi Maebara had predicted, died in an accident out on the sea. If I'm in top form like I was then, you'd die before tomorrow morning for sure. Now then, I wonder how many days it will take for you to drown. Oh, whoops.
Nice.
Oh, it's him!
Nice.
Okay, that's a screenshot for sure. You'd better be careful, you know. Don't go getting yourself killed by some stupid curse I put on you, okay? The recording ends in the middle of Keiichi Maebara's laughter. And Keiichi Maebara. Oh. Late on the night of 11/30, 1983, 2 days after the interview, he suddenly died from a high fever, cause unknown. Records remain of the strange words he kept giving after pressing the call button the day before he died. An extra set of footsteps. Alright, well, I think that's it. Finally. The Allcast review session has been unlocked! Yay!
But who was Swamp?
I feel so vindicated. So very vindicated after this. Ah.
I thought it'd be kind of funny if Keiichi lived for once, but I guess he dies again.
Well, he died much later, so that's progress, right? Anyway,
This is the cost of
rip our
Keiichi
real
living
Keiichi.
longer. This is the cost of Keiichi living longer.
Also, yes, he messaged me his internet died. But how do we know that that's
yeah.
really Wallcraft? There's no evidence.
It could be zombie Wallcraft.
Yeah, true. Anyway. Damn. Well, I guess we'll start off next session by reading all that junk. And then we'll go to
Yeah,
Allcast
that'll be
Review,
fun.
and then we'll discuss our thoughts. I have a lot of things I would like to discuss.
Yeah. We got a lot from this session.
Okay, bye, YouTube.